Hello, everyone. And oh, I'm not unmuted in Discord. Wow. Of course. I had to forget something, It wouldn't be me if I didn't forget something. Hello. And welcome, everyone, to episode 0 of Club Spectrum. So excited to have you here today. I guess let's just hop into it because I am not alone. Hello, Taylor. Oh, why am I not hearing you now? That's so weird. I was literally just hearing you talking. What the heck, Discord? Get it together. Oh my gosh, here, give me just a second, y'all. Well, welcome in. Sorry about that, y'all. Thank you for sticking with us. But we are here. Like I said, this is kind of like a session 0 where we're ironing everything out before we officially go over to our official YouTube channel, well, we do have a YouTube channel, but our official Twitch channel, which you can find here. That is where we will be from now on, but I wanted to make this kind of episode 0 on here so y'all knew where to find us easily, and I knew the tech would at least maybe work a little easier. We had hoped, but yeah, that is what we are here doing today. So yeah, I guess at this rate, let's just get on with it. So welcome to Club Spectrum. We are thank you so much for that follow over on Club Spectrum. I only have Club Spectrum things on right now because I don't want like a whole bunch of different sounds happening. My channel has many different sounds generally. I'm gonna make me a little smaller. I am kind of giant. There we go. Much better. All right, so let me introduce myself. For those of you coming in and it's like, what is going on? Who are you? Welcome to Club Spectrum. My name is Princess Calamity on the internet. You can call me Calamity. My pronouns are she, they, and I am variously neurodiverse. That is sort of me. One of your hosts for tonight. The other host is going to be Taylor. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, yes. My name is Taylor. I also go by badwolf09 in various places on the internet. My pronouns, I go by any pronouns. Like I said, I'm just kind of all over the internet, doing a few different things. I am autistic, and I found that out later in life after being misdiagnosed, and so I'm kind of new in my journey with autism and figuring out what that means to me. Yeah, so that's me.
Yeah, Taylor and I met on another podcast actually.
Yeah.
We were on For Sale's channel for why am I trying to call it sex education? That is not what it's called. That's a TV show.
No, it's a great show though.
Is it a good show? I've actually never seen it.
Oh yeah, I love it. I've seen all the seasons that are out. There's so many things about it that's good.
Huh. Okay. I'm drawing a complete huge blank because it's an excellent podcast, which I highly suggest you visit. But it's For Sale, and what is the name of it again?
Positive Thoughts.
Positive Thoughts. There we go.
Yeah, THOTS.
THOTS, and it's all about sex positivity and all kinds of stuff like that. So definitely go check it out.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be on.
Yes, and it's very open-minded too, because I was like, oh, you want me an ace person on there? Why? They're like, because that is important. I'm like, you're right. Cool.
Yeah.
So very, very cool. And that's where Taylor and I met. So let's get into a little bit of what Club Spectrum is. If you listened to the kind of intro that I did about a week ago, yeah, I guess it was a week ago, I did a little intro. It was supposed to be a trailer, but I got too excited and then just kept talking. But I sort of got into what Club Spectrum is. So in case you didn't hear that, Club Spectrum is a podcast run by neurodiverse individuals for neurodiverse individuals. There is a strong lack of spaces for, um, I guess, adult neurodiverse people. We have found like there are some spaces in like discourse, but nothing formal, nowhere to go for like advice, no one that's actually like looking into things like late diagnosed autism and just all kinds of things that, you know, adults deal with, because unfortunately a lot of the information out there is about children, which is cool and all, but like just for an example, the other day I was looking for sensory friendly brands and everything I tried to look up gave me kids clothes, which is totally not helpful. So looking into things like that, that is one of the reasons why I sort of came up with this idea, and I reached out and said, hey, anyone who wants to help, please let me know. And Taylor was one of the amazing people who said, hey, I'd love to help out. What do you need me to do? And today I was like, please help me. I just need someone to stay with me. Actually, it was more like, hey, does anyone else want to talk? Please. Because I'm freaking out. So yeah, that's kind of like a quick overview of the podcast and like the idea behind it. But we're gonna get a bit into like ourselves, our like a brief of our journeys with neurodiversity, and then a little bit into why we think a space like this is important, and then we're gonna have a break, and then we're gonna talk with all of you. We're gonna have like a little Q&A/discussion time. We want to hear from you about your neurodiversities, people in your life who are neurodiverse. It's going to be like more of a broad topic thing because today, like I said, is like a session 0, episode 0. It's all about, I actually titled it Hello World because I'm a nerd, and in coding, that's like the first thing you're supposed to kind of make a program do in development.
Oh,
So
nice.
this is our this is our Hello World. Making sure that we got something out there working, which finally we have. So yeah, I've been talking for a little bit. So you kind of went into, Taylor, a little bit of your background. You weren't diagnosed until later in life, and feel free to get like as personal or as not personal as possible. Also, note to everyone, my channel is always 18 plus, but this podcast is also going to be 18 plus. And I will just give a general content warning for talking about like growing up, like maybe neurodiverse and not understanding, not understanding, like having maybe like parents who don't understand, things like that. So I would just proceed with caution. If you're maybe in a place where you can't listen to a conversation like this right now, please take care of yourselves accordingly. But I did just want to make sure I say that. But okay, Taylor, go a little bit more into like your personal journey with figuring out that you are autistic.
Okay, yeah. So I know like a lot of my symptoms, I guess tendencies, like I don't know all like the right like terms. Like I'm
Me
trying to
neither.
shift away from like sickness terms like symptoms and things to like traits, like things that are actually me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, sorry, that was a side note tangent.
Oh, that's okay.
So I noticed like some of my autistic traits definitely started like early on, but I didn't notice them until like now I'm older looking back.
Mm-hmm.
And like the sensory like sensory seeking and also like sensory sensitivities, and that started around like probably 4 years old is my earliest memory of like sensory sensitivities and sensory seeking. Like I'd like I would like rub my forehead along the carpet, and like I would like walk around with like little rashes on my forehead because like it just like felt really good like on my forehead. It was, I don't know, like that's one of my earliest like stemming memories.
Yeah,
And
wow.
then whenever I got a little bit older, like around like 7 or 8, is when like my behavioral issues started, and like my family started taking me to like therapists and doctors, and like it was really difficult because I had like 3 younger sisters and like we'd always fight. Um and it would just like cause my like sensory overload, and I'd have a lot of meltdowns and shutdowns, which, you know, back then it was just labeled behavioral issues. And so I got misdiagnosed with a bipolar disorder and like put on a bunch of medication like throughout my childhood. And finally, when I got older, I like was able to get off the medication and kind of go to different therapists that I was able to pick and like my parents didn't pick. And also as I got older, more like studies were done on autism and how to spot them. And I finally, after like a long journey of like tapering myself off my medication and talking with those therapists that I found, I kind of came to the conclusion that I am autistic, and I've always been autistic, and like have own like science and everything has only just now kind of barely caught up to be able to describe it for me, I guess. You know, if that makes any sense.
That makes complete sense, actually. Just so many, it's interesting. A lot of people get diagnosed with other things. And sorry, I just, there we go. I was fixing something in Discord.
It's okay.
But you said, what did you say you were diagnosed with before?
Bipolar disorder.
That's right. Bipolar disorder is a big one.
Yeah, but I was also like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And apparently you're not supposed to diagnose bipolar disorder before like age 18. So I've met a lot of therapists and psychiatrists like currently who have heard that I was diagnosed at 8, and they were like, what the heck were those doctors thinking? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And they were like kind of like upset for me. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. I just kind of think of it as like medicine back in like 2005 and like earlier was just not as like caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also like in Oklahoma, so there's, I don't know, there's probably not a lot of like great educated people out here. It's just, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just kind of like, I just kind of think of it as like born in the wrong time, like grew up in the wrong time. Like I try not to like get upset about like not being diagnosed earlier, even though like I could have been, and like I could have had more like affirming therapies to help with just like recognizing what was going on.
Yeah, that's a big one, is trying not to get, it's like somebody described it once as like a feeling of mourning almost. Thinking back to like, oh, if only I'd had this help sooner, where would I be? So it's almost like mourning a life you could have had, but you can't really do that because that's not how life is, you know what I mean? And at least you know now, and at least you have those tools now, and that's kind of how I convince myself to get out of those slumps when I do get into a space where I'm like, wow, like I have a really hard time when I'm frustrated knowing how to calm myself down to a point where I can communicate instead of just like basically having a meltdown because I just like can't get words out and like things like that. If I had had an explanation, I could have figured out ways easier, you know, to sort of navigate that before I was, 31 like I am now. So also I was also diagnosed for kind of like a bit on my personal journey. I was diagnosed later in life, but I'm actually self-diagnosed as a Black femme in the US. Once I learned, well, actually, let me start at the beginning. Growing up, I had a lot of, I guess, no, symptoms isn't the right word. I also do not always say the right words. But I had a lot of traits that are definitely like, now I see them as, um, oh yeah, like that's because I I am autistic. And one of them, you talked about like foreheads. I used to like hit the heels of my hands on my forehead when I was upset. That was a big stem of mine. Um,
Mhm.
that I remember my parents constantly telling me like not to do. And I wonder if it's like that pressure point. If you like you think about it, because there is a pressure point there, like in your forehead. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why. Anyway, I just thought of that. That's fascinating. Um, so my parents, though, are extremely religious and do not believe in. How do I say? They don't believe in. Not believing in neurodiversity isn't quite the right way to say it, because they didn't believe I was potentially neurodiverse in any way. They just thought I was disobedient, stubborn, etc., etc. Um, and that I was just like way too emotional, even though I was literally having meltdowns, and I could be like really heckin' talkative 1 second and pretty much silent the next, and they like wouldn't be able to get anything out of me, and think I was being like obstinate when literally I just like couldn't words. Anyway, a bunch of different stuff like that growing up. I
Mhm.
started to suspect that I had ADHD in high school, but my parents, being them, they never took me anywhere to get like treated or looked at or anything. They just thought I needed to be closer with religious beliefs that they raised me with, um, and all that good stuff. So I didn't get diagnosed with anything until I was 20. No, because I got married that year. That would be 27. The pandemic is making time so weird. Nope, I would have been 28. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it
um,
is.
but yeah, I would have been 28 when I first got diagnosed with ADHD and went on stimulants. And it was interesting thinking back on it, because I was on stimulants and it was helping me get things done. But I was having what I now know is like a sensory meltdown once a week, sometimes twice a week. It just made
Mhm.
all of my sensory problems like times 50. So I stopped taking that medication. And then it wasn't until after the pandemic that I started I was actually looking into it for a family member who was autistic, and kind of like doing research on them. And then I stumbled upon the more quote unquote female presentation, as they like to call it, of autism, which isn't like Rain Man or anything like that.
Mhm.
Like the stereotypical things that you generally think of when you first sort of hear somebody talk about being autistic. Um, but when I started looking into those, I just saw so much of myself. And then it was about like a year of honestly special interest research. I was just deep diving into it, like listening to other people who were late diagnosed and all that good stuff. And I about a year ago now is when I finally said, "Yeah, I'm autistic. Like that's me." Like, and I can't afford diagnosis, first off, and second
Mhm.
off, I'm, as a black femme, afraid to get officially diagnosed. Um, I don't know. I know like my area doesn't even diagnose adults. I don't even think anywhere in my state diagnoses adults. And
Mhm.
I just feel like, being black and female presenting, it's, I don't know. I can just see it causing more problems having an official like on paper diagnosis than not, if that makes
I
sense.
yeah, I can definitely understand that. Um, I mean, it's something that like I've kind of like thought about twice before. Like, I actually feel like I was extremely lucky to get diagnosed. Because I like talking with my therapist, I was like, bringing her all of these like pieces of evidence, and I was like, I think I'm autistic. I was like, I think this is it. I think I finally figured out like what's going on with me, what's been going on with me. And she told me, she was like, well, it takes a long time to like get a diagnosis, and um it's something that like you can like, she worded it like, you can claim that and like hold on to that truth as yours. Like she's like, it could take a long time to get diagnosed, but it won't like change like what you figured out about yourself. And then she got me in contact with a psychiatrist who I was actually just lucky to know that like this psychiatrist was like autistic herself.
Oh,
She
wow.
she said that she had Asperger's, but she knew that that had like is starting to be phased out, like, and like wasn't actually a thing anymore. And like I felt very lucky because I was like, oh my gosh, like I found like an autistic psychiatrist. Um and so she just kind of like wrote a note for me. Like she was like, yeah, I was gonna tell you that I thought you were autistic, but I didn't know if that was something that you wanted to know, or if that was just like, it was like, it doesn't like change anything about like uh how we treat you. And she was
Mm,
like, but it would explain, like, she was like, if you were ever like, why am I like this, I'd probably bring the diagnosis to you.
mm,
But then we like talked about it more, and yeah, she kind of like just like wrote a letter, and I was like, I felt really lucky because I was like, wow, I uh didn't think it would be that easy, because I know for a lot of
yeah.
people it's really hard to get diagnosed. um
Yes.
yeah, I just felt really lucky to get that. um
That's
but I definitely can see how it would be like a scary thing to have a diagnosis. I'm like trying to get disability, and like I kind of worry about like how being on disability might like uh just like add some discrimination from like the government and stuff. I don't know if things get too bad here in the good old US of A.
yeah.
It's I don't know, it's definitely a lot to like think about and like plan your right steps and everything.
Yeah. And honestly, I just think that's so cool that you happen to find a autistic psychiatrist. Like that is chef's kiss. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just for the things that I want to do in life, I don't know. I'm just afraid that people might use that diagnosis against me. And it's really not that. It's the fact that I'm, you know, black, and they're like, oh well, no, we just don't think X, Y. I don't know. I just don't trust people, which is
Yeah.
terrible, and I hate it. Um, but when you said about like you can claim that for yourself, that's kind of the moment I had where I officially started saying like, yes, I am autistic.
Mhm.
Because I realized that it did explain, it did give that this is why for a lot of things, which kind of helped me honestly recenter myself. Um, when I got into like bad places or was like on the verge, like coming down from like a meltdown or something, it allowed me to give myself a lot more grace, um, which I'm still working on.
Yeah.
And also like make me realize the actual help I needed. It's like I don't need to work harder. I actually probably need to work a little less. I need to take care of myself better so I can be more productive. It's not laziness, it's not a schedule problem. It's that I'm overworking myself, which is causing me to be less productive. Things like that. It just helped me
Mhm.
put everything kind of in the right lens, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, that
that's
makes sense.
in the description of Club Spectrum, I even put talking about life through the lens of neurodiversity, because that's really what it felt like. It kind of felt like putting on glasses and going, okay, now that I have this knowledge, this change, I can see clearly. I can understand things better about myself. It's kind of like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally feel like I kind of saw it that way too. Is like once you like start looking at it differently, it's like you can see clearer.
Mm-hmm. It really is. And I think both of us, as I assume you're a glasses wearer because of your picture,
I am, yes.
that kind of glasses comparison was like,
Yeah.
I just came up with it. I feel so cool. I'm over here making, what are they called? Not comparisons.
Metaphors?
Metaphors. Yeah, metaphors.
Metaphors on the spot.
Metaphors on the spot, which is honestly one of the reasons that I like started doubting myself. Because I think up metaphors at the drop of a hat, and I really like thinking up metaphors. And I was like, but I thought like autistic people don't really like get metaphors all the time. I'm like, nobody else understands what I'm talking about. When I make them up, it's different. When other people make them up, like there's one that just will never cease to annoy me, and I can't think of which one it is right now, but there are a lot that will never cease to annoy me, and I get them, I understand them, but I don't like them because I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So thank you so much for sharing, and I think it's super important also to have a space like this so more people can kind of go, oh, I relate to that. Oh, that makes sense, because it wasn't until I heard other autistic adults talk about their experiences that I started to see like that connection. I was trying to remember the other day like where the bigger like connections started, but I've done so much research I can't even really remember. But yeah. So,
I'm pretty sure my big like aha moment was from a TikTok about like female or femme presenting autism traits, and I just was like, oh my gosh, I was like, that's definitely me. And I just like saved the TikTok and sent it to my therapist, and I was like, could you help me figure out more about autism, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you that you got people who were just very helpful, and
Thank you.
for people like seeking a diagnosis, I don't want to like discourage people, if that makes sense. This is just a personal choice I've made for me. I just wanted to kind of say that, but sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I think that honestly, just the fact that like I was misdiagnosed younger, and like it was all like just like the doctors and therapists and stuff that I was kind of forced to go to as a kid, and it all kind of ended up being wrong, kind of drove me to try and find like my right diagnosis, I guess. Like that was just kind of probably my biggest driving factor. Like I just kind of, I guess I just wanted that like the like validation, I guess, and it like it kind of helped heal my like medical trauma from like back when I was a kid. Like I was able to kind of face my fear and go back into a like inpatient facility for a little bit whenever I really needed some help, even though that was something that I like swore I would never do again. Yeah, I don't know, like that time in my life, it was over the last like 2 years is whenever like I really like seeked that diagnosis. And I don't know, it's been a very healing time for me, and I've been really lucky to have the support system that I have.
That's incredible. See, I think we need to hear more stories where like autistic success, I don't know, it's autistic success and like autistic joy, and it's just talked about more, because I feel like people only talk about the problems that we cause to society, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like we don't hear enough like, I have a great support system and they're very helpful and helped me get a diagnosis and understand myself better and heal from things. Like I feel like we don't hear enough of that.
Yeah.
Or it's
I
not
feel
advertised as much.
Like hearing inspiring like success stories. I don't know. I don't like I don't call myself a success, but like successful-ish stories are definitely good to hear in the community.
I would say like, I would call it a success. Like you're better off. You're you're understanding yourself more. I'd say that is success.
I guess
Anything
that's
that helps
true.
you
Healing,
understand. Yes, that
yeah,
too.
healing is success. So,
Agreed. 100% agreed. Healing is definitely success. So I guess the next thing I kind of like had to bring up was why this podcast and sort of why we got started. So we're very much in the beginning. Like this isn't technically even our first episode. It's our episode 0 because it technically doesn't have a subject. We're more just like testing things out and chatting. But I wanted to talk a bit about not just why. How do I want to phrase this? I guess, what is it about the idea of having a space like this that appealed to you? And I guess we did kind of start touching on that a little bit just now. Um, but yeah, any other thoughts you had on that? Like why you think a space like this is important, and maybe like some of the conversations we had about like why we wanted to make it an 18 plus space and all that.
yeah, I think you touched on it a little bit earlier. Like, it's just really difficult to find like resources and community for autistic adults. And like you said, you don't even think that like they offer autistic diagnosis for adults in your area. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that's like very similar for a lot of areas. I know I've gone online looking for autistic community groups or support, and they're all for like 18 and under.
Mm-hmm.
um they just don't There's not a lot of spaces for autistic adults to just kind of like come together and talk and exist. And I think it would be really great to create something like that.
100% agreed. And I would say, like, even just meeting you and getting to, like, the few conversations that we had after the podcast we met on, um, just like that connection has even been very cool. Um, to just kind of see another autistic adult, I don't know, who just kind of gets it. I don't know if that makes sense. But that's kind of why I wanted to
Yeah, that
start the
totally makes
podcast.
sense.
Like, I feel like I wanted a place where people could come and know that they would just kind of be like understood and like validated.
Mm.
Because the world constantly works to invalidate especially late diagnosed adults because ableism. They're like, oh, we don't want you to think that because that means we have to accommodate you and people are ableist and shitty. So um I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there that tries to invalidate, um, autistic adults and neurodivergent adults in general, because I'm various types of neurodivergent. I don't think I ever listed it. I have ADHD, I'm autistic, and I am also dyslexic. And I don't know if they're the same thing, but I also have dyscalculia, um,
Oh,
which
okay.
which is like numbers, but
Yeah.
dyslexia. I just think I don't do well with, which is interesting because I was a huge reader, but I don't do well with
Mm.
reading. It's very, it's very confusing. And I was also hyperlexic, where I read and wrote very early, which I learned about extremely recently. Being like hyperlexic, that's a big thing with
That's
autistic kids
interesting.
too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
I've
look
never heard
into
of that.
it. It was eye opening.
Huh.
So then they're like, wait, you've been doing so well. Like, you've been like above your peers. Like, why are you suddenly struggling? Why do you need help? You don't need help. You're fine. You're just faking it. You're being dramatic. Da, 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 da. Horrible things that people like to say. So yeah, definitely I would
Mm.
look into that. But I guess, yeah, honestly, a lot of what you said, to kind of bring it back from my tangent on why I started doing this, or why I decided to officially do this, because we had a conversation back in April on this very channel, where I had a raid and I was doing a Autistic Awareness Month charity stream, where I was raising money for Autistics Unmasked, and a lot of other people that came in with that particular raid were also neurodiverse. And we just got talking about like neurodiversity, and people were like, wow, I wish I like had a space like this to just like chat about neurodiversity and all that. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be really cool. Like we do that all the time on the channel. And somebody was like, oh, like it would be really cool if it was like a podcast and like people could access that information like whenever they needed it. And I was like, actually, that's a really cool idea, but there's no way I could do that. There's too much on my plate. And now here we are. That's a story.
Well, I'm excited that we are doing it, and I will definitely be here to help with anything.
Which I appreciate so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like where this whole idea came from. And then Club Spectrum kind of came to me one day. And I thought it was fun, and other people thought it was fun. So I'm like, yeah, that's what we're gonna call it. And here we are. Oh, and I saw a vaporwave theme once that I really liked, so that's why we have this theme now. I don't know.
Yes, I love this aesthetic.
It's so like, I don't know. It's interesting visually. I've always just liked that sort of synth wave aesthetic, but I feel like a lot of it can be very loud and like distracting, and I wanted to sort of like tone it down so it's like visually pleasing. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I think you did a good job. It looks great. It's very calming. I like it.
Yay.
But also like it holds that like club vibe. So
yes. Like, can you imagine an autistic club? It would just be like a huge room, and people had mini corners to go into, and there's STEM toys, and like I was trying to think like what would a club spectrum like look like that was a neurodiverse friendly club. But I think all the seats would be cozy, and you don't have to talk to anyone, and there's like low music, but you can also wear your like your own noise canceling headphones if you want.
Yes. I feel like there would be lots of just like sensory toys. I'm just thinking like, I don't know, like bubbles or like poppets. And just, or even just like little tables of just sensory toys like in the table, just things that like feel good on your hands and stuff. I don't know. That sounds amazing to me.
Oh my gosh. For some reason, I'm just thinking of it, and this is probably gonna age me, but I'm thinking of it like a giant Wonderworks. Have you ever heard of Wonderworks?
I don't think I have.
So it's like one of those sciencey places you go into, and there's like, here's a table of nails, and if you put your hand on it, it doesn't hurt, but you can see an imprint of your hand. And it's like a bunch of like different sciencey things in one place on like various levels.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was imagining too. Just like little things that you can just like touch.
Yeah.
And just, just like put it on like all the tables. And then there's like areas for drinks, of course, too, but like most of it is just sensory friendly tables.
Oh, that would be so fun. All right, we're petition to make this an actual club. I don't know where, but that would be just so
we need
fun.
to start taking ideas.
Writing them down so one day we can open actual Club Spectrum for adults only, no kids. Sorry kids, you've got your spaces. You'll be fine. And then you'll have somewhere to look forward to when you're older. It's not like, okay, you're out in the world and you can figure it out for yourself. Like, no, you'll come to Club Spectrum and you'll be able to, find other people that can support you. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I guess before we go on break, one last thing I wanted to talk about was like plans and things. So this is currently a monthly podcast because we are people with busy lives and jobs and things like that, and bills to pay and families to take care of. So this is a once monthly podcast that we are currently doing. I personally would love to expand it into more, and have like a cast of hosts just to keep everyone's like spoons in good places, and just touch on people from various backgrounds with various like interests and stuff, so we can truly make this intersectional. Because one thing that I really wanted to make sure about Club Spectrum is that it had a focus on like intersectionality, and it didn't ignore intersectionality, because I love, there's so many amazing neurodiverse creators out there doing incredible things, but a lot of them are white, cis, Well, actually not cis. A lot of them are queer, which is quite nice. But still, um, I just think like having people from different backgrounds and different like beliefs even, I don't know. I just think having like a nice modge podge of people, neurodiverse people, speaking on their experiences and like coming up with ideas for subjects to talk about, it can only make a space like this stronger. So hopefully we will have more hosts in the future, but currently it is Taylor and I. um
Yeah, I'm excited to see just like who all else we can bring into Club Spectrum. And I'm
yes.
excited to see just listen to everyone's stories
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just really like find a community here.
Listening to everyone's stories, that's really the big thing.
Yeah.
I I'm just excited to hear, I don't know, just about, because I'm more used to neurodiversity even being about like ADHD and autism mostly, but there are
Mm.
other things that are, I can't, they're not coming to me right now, of course. Calamity, my gosh. But there
Yeah,
are other things.
no, I know OCD is one. I'm
Yes.
also diagnosed with OCD. And that's a part of the neurodiversity umbrella. And it's honestly also another thing that's just like really misunderstood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not talked about enough.
Yeah.
Which is why phrases like, oh my gosh, I'm like so CD exist, which is,
Yeah.
don't say that, y'all. I know you don't mean any harm, but don't say that.
Yeah.
It's something people actually like deal with on a daily, and it's not just, oh, I need to line everything up, pick
Right. Just because
color.
you feel like you need to organize things doesn't mean you're OCD.
It does not. We're definitely gonna have to have an OCD episode, led by
Yeah.
Taylor, obviously. Um,
Sounds good.
but yeah, I just want to talk about all kinds of different subjects. And another reason we're making it 18 plus is because we wanted to talk about like adult subjects, things like relationships and intimacy and all kinds of stuff that maybe like kids just don't care about or need to hear about right now.
Yeah.
Unless their parents are okay with it, because like that's, maybe they do want their kid to know about that because it's important for their future. I don't know, but the space is intended for 18 plus. I don't know what you let your kids listen to. That's up to you. I'm not, I can't control that. But there are going to be more adult subjects and like viewpoints that are discussed here. What are some, like, if you had to imagine, and I know I didn't really prepare you for this, but if you had to like maybe imagine this podcast a year from now, what is something that you would, like, I don't know, like us to do, or like us to have, just like things like that? And take your time
Um,
thinking about it, because I just kind of
okay.
sprung this on you.
That's okay. I'm just like imagining like a year from now. Um, I really like the idea of doing like monthly podcasts, like just making it a monthly show. It makes it really chill and just like one day a month that I can kind of put aside to like come into this space.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely would love to see like more people, kind of like a round table kind of thing
Yes.
where we're all just kind of talking and vibing. Maybe we have some like nice music in the background. Um, and then I don't know, maybe like opening up spaces like in the Discord that are just like not an official podcast time. Like we're just kind of sitting together, and like I know you do a lot of like co-working streams. Like we could just open
Mm.
up like the Discord and just do a bit of like co-working and like cheering each other on, because autistic burnout is a thing and people
Yes.
need help getting through those things. Like definitely a community where we can all kind of like support each other and lift each other up on those things that we all struggle with.
That is something I have to echo, because we do have a Discord that we kind of like talk with each other in, and run each other, like run things. What am I trying to say? Words are not happening right now. Trying to like run ideas by each other and stuff, and just get things set up. But I do have a goal personally of opening that up to more of a community space, having more of a community space in there, because I think that community is definitely something I want to be part of this podcast. Like, I don't want it to be just us talking at you, which is why I do aim to have like discussion and Q&A portions where we just like chat about whatever for the live portions. Yeah, I honestly, all of that. I really like the idea of like once monthly, like streamed podcasts. I think that'd be really cool. Maybe doing like smaller things throughout the month that like other people like little projects and such. Maybe having community days occasionally on the like Twitch stream. I don't know. I feel like I think community though is definitely a big thing too. Is not only kind of sharing our experiences and getting to know other people's, but also just having a space to co-work and encourage each other and be like, yo, I'm burnt out and nobody around me is understanding. And we're like, we understand and you got that. I don't know. I just think that, I think that would be really, that's definitely a goal of mine, is to
Yeah, I really like that.
have like an actual space where we can like hang out and chat. Outside of just podcasts. But I wanted the podcast aspect because I do want people to be able to access the information even if they can't like make streams.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the idea of having it like archived, just so people can go back to it. And like, I know you have a lot of things in our Discord that are just like resource areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I like everything here, just like we'll have it like as a resource to go back to.
Yes, I love a good
and other
resource
people
area.
will. Yeah.
I have a resource area problem. Don't talk to me about Pinterest. It's a problem.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been on Pinterest, but I could go back and see like my thousands and thousands of pins that I've had.
So many. And they decided to add sections. I don't know if you were here for sections. Excuse me, but each board can now have different sections. So instead of just like a holiday board, you can have a holiday board with like Halloween, Christmas, whatever.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I have a
dangerous.
bunch of witchcraft things on a board. Ooh. And it's like put in like 5 different sections.
Yeah, I definitely started a digital grimoire, which has been very, very cool to like kind of peek back on, because it's just easier to organize things on the internet. It just is. Like, people are like, oh, make a little notebook. I'm like, things will get lost, dang it. I'm sorry, I can't organize things in a notebook.
I always try and like start a notebook and like keep things in there, but I always end up just kind of giving up on it. Mm-hmm. And just like keeping things in my notes and all of that. The best I've done with a notebook is like a personal like journal of my thoughts I've kept for like an entire year and a half.
Wow.
And it like filled up the entire notebook. And yeah, I've been kind of burnt out on journaling since then.
That's fair.
But I want to get back to it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm terrible at journaling. I opened my journal the other day and like the last entry was from like February.
Yeah.
So bad at journaling. That's an accomplishment though. I don't think I've ever actually finished. Well, no, I don't think I've ever finished a notebook like recently.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. I was really proud of myself when I finished that one notebook. I was like, oh my gosh, I did it. I actually filled up a notebook.
Without buying 50 different others and filling them instead. Only halfway.
Yes.
Which
well, each notebook has to be like a different subject, you know. Yes. You get different ideas and then you're like, oh well, this organizing, like this isn't organized here, I need to get another notebook to organize these thoughts. Exactly. And then you have 50 notebooks.
I'm so glad that you understand this, because
yes,
my partner was like, why do you need 4 different dot grid journals? And I'm like, I need one for like game dev stuff, I need one for like keeping track of routines.
Yeah, I went out and bought a notebook for this podcast today. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start a new notebook. I'm gonna put all my ideas in there.
That is such a good idea. I'm gonna get a notebook for this, and that's the excuse to get a nice fancy notebook that has something to do with like Club Spectrum or like vaporwave looking. Oh, I love it when the
Oh
like
yeah.
look of the notebook matches the subject.
Yeah.
So
I
satisfying.
found a notebook with like stars on it, and
Ooh.
it kind of matches the aesthetic, so I'm pretty happy.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna look for a notebook tonight. That is tonight's goal. Look for a notebook for Club Spectrum things. But yeah, so that is more the topic discussion portion of the podcast where we just sort of like talk with each other. We're going to take a quick break because taking breaks are important for us and for y'all. So we're gonna take a quick, how about a 7? Does a 7 sound good to you, Taylor?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Sweet. We're gonna take a 7, and then when we come back, we're gonna be like talking with y'all, getting to know you, seeing different things that you want to hear us talk about, any ideas you have for like the future of the podcast, because like we said, we really want this to be a community driven thing. So we would love to hear your thoughts. But first, we take a break. Please, please, please take care of yourselves, and we will be back. I was like, oh no, what happened to the subtitles? Okay, we're good. Phew. Oh, hello. I forgot to unmute in Discord.
There you go. I
Again.
just now looked up and saw your subtitles, and I was like, oh, we're back. Okay.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know. I saw that I was in a different window, and I was like, oh well, hey, we're learning. We're learning. I
That's
promise.
okay. That's what episode 0 is for.
That's true. That's true. I need to stop like, and I even keep telling myself that every time I talk about it being like a session 0/episode 0, it's more for me.
Yeah.
It's more for my perfectionism.
I get that.
Oh gosh. Well, welcome back, Taylor, and welcome back everyone. I hope you had a lovely break. Now is kind of the more like casual, we get to chat with you portion of the stream. So first off, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone for popping in today. I saw so many familiar names and I saw some new names too, and it's been absolutely lovely just to see everyone. Um, I hope you're doing well. Hi, Zephy. And Gentle Beast, I hope you had some nice cozy break time. This is where we're doing Club Spectrum. Oh my gosh, I can spell. Whoops. The podcast today, but from after this episode, basically, we will be doing it on our official Twitch channel, so make sure you follow us there. We also have a Twitter. We're Club Spectrum Pod on literally everything. So if you just look up Club Spectrum Pod, we're there, and we're also on Spotify. So you'll be able to listen to this in like 2 weeks on Spotify. That's my goal, is to get it out in 2 weeks.
Oh, yay.
Hopefully that is how that works. But things should be calming down for me. Well, they have actually already started calming down, which is nice. But yeah, this is when we get to talk to y'all. So anything like you kind of wanted to bring up, Taylor, or any thoughts like you had just about anything we talked about previously, or just, I don't know, something you feel like talking about?
I don't know. I think like we touched a lot about like community, and I really like the community aspect of this, of like what we're trying to grow. I don't know if maybe like Sorry, I'm having
No,
trouble
you're
finding
fine.
words.
No, take your time. Take your time.
um, I don't know, just like if anyone in the chat has like any like questions or suggestions on like what kind of community they would want to see kind
Mm.
of from this space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just kind of like, because I think, you know, a community is more successful if they kind of take input from everyone who kind of wants to be a part of that.
100% agreed. Um, yeah, I want this to kind of grow organically, which might honestly be why I'm kind of like, I don't know, I just wanted to be community. Like I don't have like all the perfect words to say because I just think it's something that's going to sort of develop over time as we get to meet other neurodiverse people and who want to like join and hang out and converse with us. Um, I think it's really going to grow into its own just lovely, beautiful thing. So anything that, like I said, y'all want to sort of hear about, hear us talk about or touch on, but also, like Taylor said, things that you would like to see in a community, like for our neurodiverse friends out there, what is something that you would like to see from like an adult neurodiverse space? Like, what is something that you maybe feel like has been lacking? Because, like, you know, we can think of a lot of stuff, but I truly think that it's like all of us coming together that's going to kind of like help us grow. I don't know, I think I said that already, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely really excited about like all the voices that we can kind of get in on this, and just because like I am like by no means an expert, and I'm really excited to learn from other people and their experiences, and just like the things that they use to just experience joy in this like neurodiverse experience.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm just like you said, it like turning into like an organically growing thing, like is kind of how I'm envisioning it as well. Just like we just find find a lot of people and have a lot of stories and experiences together, and I think that's why like this space feels so chill, because it's just kind of open to anything,
Mm-hmm.
um like any possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I sort of defined it as like we talk about life, because that could literally be anything, um through like that neurodiverse lens. So I, as long as it's about neurodiversity, we're down to talk about it.
Yeah.
um which I'm really excited for, because yeah, I'm honestly just excited to, like you said, kind of hear everyone's stories. And you talked about like you're no expert, I'm no expert.
Mhm.
I'm more here speaking from personal experience, but I would love to get to a point where we do bring on experts.
That would be amazing. I think giving us as well as everyone involved like a space to learn from experts, and also just like hear other people's just experiences and how they cope with things,
Mm-hmm.
would be just really helpful.
Yeah, agreed. That would be so cool. I'm just like sitting here like envisioning having like there's a book I'm reading right now called Unmasking Autism by Devin Pierce Price. It starts with B. I don't remember what it is. Hold on. Um, Devin Price. Devin Price, which I highly, 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 highly suggest y'all look into. Oh, Yenwa, thank you so much for the bits, friend. I appreciate it. And Usagi, I forgot earlier. Thank you so much for that sub earlier. I really appreciate that. Yenwa says,
Oh,
love you
hi,
both. I hope you're
Usagi.
having a lovely pod. Thank you so much. Coping methods would be really good. So yeah, Devin Price. Definitely look into that book because they are a researcher who is also autistic. And I think that we, like you even talked about earlier, how a lot of what helped you, Taylor, was coming across a psychiatrist who was autistic. I
Yeah.
I don't think that's like brought up enough. So I think having like hashtag actually autistic experts would be super cool to do.
Yeah. I think that's definitely important because I feel like, I don't know, it's, I feel like I see it talked about a lot that, you can't really understand neurodiversity unless you experience it for yourself. Like, neurotypicals have been like trying to find the words for it and like find ways to describe the experiences of neurodiverse people, but they're really only looking from the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding like, actually autistic experts and things like that, like it's really important because they just understand better.
Yeah. They, I think like a combination of like science and experience is going to be your best bet when it comes to these things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, not everyone lets autistic individuals be great, so there is a probably lack, I imagine. Like I know that there's autistic experts out there, but it's
Oh
probably
yeah.
sadly uncommon.
Yeah, it's very difficult to find them, I feel like. I feel like more of them are emerging, like as we kind of get older and more neurodiverse people grow up and just get into the field and really kind of throw themselves into it, because that's something that autistic people are very good at, is like throwing themselves into something. And so you are able to like find those experts, but they are few and far between still, unfortunately.
Yeah. Um, First off, Ian, well, what the heck? Thank you so much for those subs. I appreciate you, and please take breaks. Don't crunch too hard, and even if you have to, take breaks. Please take care of yourself. Um, yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't even know what to say to an expert, but I think it'd be very cool.
Yeah. I'd just be sitting there taking notes, being
Yeah.
like, okay, thank you so much, like this is great information.
Yeah, so it's like we're actually just here to be educated. The floor is yours, please.
Yeah.
I really like Harvey Starter's idea of having a discussion about coping methods. I think that could be very cool. Because
Yes, I
stimming
like
is a
that.
big one, but there's definitely others.
Hmm.
I think we should definitely touch on that. But yeah, Devin Price. Sorry, I'm catching up with chat. Devin Price, definitely look into him. And there's another book that he did that I'm gonna get my hands on after I'm done with this one. But thank you so much, Yanwa. And Jittleby says, we're so delighted to hear you talk about intersectionality, including different kinds of neurodiversity. We'd love to see the podcast feature non-speaking autistics, more Black autistic, neurodiverse people, neurodiverses around the world, neurodiverse people around the world, and other kinds of neurodiversities that are very heavily stigmatized, like PDs and cluster A and B disorders. I'm not actually sure what that means. Could you elaborate on that? What PDs are, and then like A and B disorders? Because I imagine they're like shortened for something. There's a word for that. I can't come up with words today.
That's okay. Words are hard.
Personality
But yeah,
disorders.
I don't know if I've heard
Okay.
of those. Oh yeah.
Yes. I did a panel for intersectional infinity back in April, and there was a non-speaking autistic individual there that I would love to have on this podcast. I would love to have them on this podcast. Just that they were so cool and so knowledgeable. I don't know, like, because I believe they're, I don't know if they're like a researcher or like some sort of medical professional. I don't remember. They had, I guess, like maybe a researcher. I'm trying to remember exactly what their background was, but they were just like, they had so many like just moments of, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. Oh my gosh. And I would love to get them on the podcast. I'm gonna have to look them up because they're super cool.
Oh, nice.
But I would love to have definitely non-speaking autistic individuals, multiple, preferably like as a constant. I would love to have one as part of the team, preferably, but that comes as we grow.
Yeah. I definitely really like the idea of neurodivergence from around the world, because I think a lot about like depending on where you live and like how you grow up and your race and all of these different factors can really affect like how late you're diagnosed. And you know, like your story, you were talking about how it like it took you like a really long time to even like go to a doctor and like get diagnosed. And I know I don't know, just hearing different stories from people in different areas and from different circumstances definitely is something that I would want to do and like have on this podcast. I just think it's really interesting, and I don't know, just kind of, sorry, now I'm having
No,
hard time with words.
you're fine.
I think it would be just really interesting to like hear and I don't know, not really compare, but just kind of like put those stories side by side and just see just the differences and the differences that everyone faces, like the different struggles.
Especially culturally. Yeah, I would love to see like a global, like how neurodiversity is treated. And even like, it can get dark, unfortunately, but even like a historical, because I've heard of some cultures that have treated neurodiversity as like not a bad thing, even back before they had a word for it. I'd love to look into that kind of stuff as well, because I think like those mindsets can help us as an entire population. You know, I think it's extremely important.
It's wild how like just a bunch of like ancient civilizations can sometimes seem a little bit more advanced than things that we even like have today, like in just like views that they had, I suppose. So like learning from history is like really important. It's really fun. I'm a big history nerd.
Ooh, okay. See, I love history, but I am terrible, and maybe it's the dyscalculia, but I can never remember when things are.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, I know this happened. And
yeah, I'm definitely bad at memorizing dates.
Okay.
Like I'm more of a fun facts kind of history person.
Yes, my kind of history person. I love that. It took me until I did a musical about the Titanic to remember about when it happened, because I was like, I don't know, the 1800s. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was the 1920s, y'all. Oh man. But yeah, it was only because I did a musical, and I was friends with the sewing director or costuming director, and he was researching like clothes from that era. So yeah, early 1900s. That's the only reason I know. Which is so backwards, but it's fine.
I was really into the Titanic movie as a kid, and I watched it like really early. I feel like I remember watching it at like maybe 3 or 4 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like my mom would just like skip the part where the boat like sank, and she's just like, just don't watch this part, and I watched the rest.
Wait.
And but I was really into it, and I kind of like threw myself into researching like the Titanic and stuff. So like that was one thing that like I had like memorized. But I feel like there's a lot of other stuff that like I couldn't tell you when it happened.
Yeah. Like if I was
Yeah.
into it right now, like sure. But
Yeah.
I did a deep dive about that 12 years ago. I don't remember.
Right.
I have unfortunately I have bills and stuff in my head now that I have to that takes up room, dang it.
That takes up way too much.
I just want to learn useless history facts that like will not help even. Like I don't even want to know helpful ones.
Yeah.
Oh, gentle bees! I didn't know that. Okay, so you're semi-speaking yourselves, and still learning how to properly uplift and center non-speaking voices. Yeah, and I, I think another thing I really look forward to with this podcast is learning. Um, because I'm
Yes.
just an individual.
Mm.
Um, but I can't wait to learn from other people, even like not experts, especially honestly, not experts. Um,
Yeah, just hearing from regular people and just learning about how they live their lives is just sounds really cool.
yes, and just learning how to be more accessible um, to people, because I know that I like to read up on accessibility and such a lot, and I'm not perfect because I'm not the most technologically savvy person. I just learned how to do this subtitle thing up here today. But I'm trying. I will say, like, be gentle with us, but feel free to sort of like call us out and say like, hey, it would be a lot easier for more people to have access to this if XYZ. Um, Definitely open to that. Just like be gentle with us. We're learning, and also like we're literally 3 people right now. So we're working on it, but I promise it's a priority, and we're definitely open to like growing and accessibility and all that. So I did want to make sure I say that. Oh, okay. So Gentlebee says, to answer the other half of your question, cluster A disorders include paranoid, schizophrenic, and or schizoid and schizotypical disorders. Cluster B is bipolar disorder, EUPD. Sometimes these things don't come to me quickly. I'm so sorry. But BPD, UPD, NPD, ASPD, and DPD. Oh, DPD and HPD, which is a set of personality disorders that are very demonized in society. Oh, NPD is narcissistic personality disorder, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Which I actually heard about from TikTok. Honestly, y'all can hate on TikTok. It
Yeah,
actually I've learned a lot.
TikTok, they have a lot of good resources there. Like you have to double check some things you hear for sure,
Oh yeah.
but I've learned a lot from TikTok.
I've definitely learned a lot from TikTok as well. It's so nice. It makes you feel less alone, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love to bring on people like that, because like the word narcissist especially is not a great one.
Yeah.
And there are harmful narcissistic individuals, and forgive me because I don't know the details of narcissistic personality disorder, but it doesn't like make someone a bad person. But hearing that, you're going to immediately demonize it, unfortunately. So I would love to get information about that out as well too, and bring on people who know more about that and the others that you mentioned.
Yeah, I feel NPD is definitely something that like I want to like learn more and hear more from other people who do like suffer from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that's something that kind of like triggers my like internal ableism. Because I know I have a lot of that. Just growing up where I grew up and how I grew up.
Yeah.
And so like hearing more from people who experience NPD, and just kind of helping break down my own understanding of it, is something that I would love to do in this space.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because there's definitely some growing up stuff, childhood experiences where um, having a better knowledge of that, I think, would kind of dismantle my ableism as well. So definitely agreed. But I guess like to get, and this is a light plug. Definitely tell people about us, tell people about this podcast. Like I said, we're very small and just getting started, but we just want to make a space where people can learn and grow and help each other. So definitely follow us on all of our socials. Interact with us, talk with us. We're here. I'm mostly behind the Twitter, but I hope to get more people onto that because I'm not the best at Twitter. But yeah, we want it to be an ongoing conversation. So definitely just spread the word, just so we can access more individuals and like more experts and just people who know more than us, because we definitely want to bring them on and learn from them and help just destigmatize a lot of things.
Yeah.
So much stigma, so much misinformation. Thank you so much for being open and honest about the ableism struggles. We have those too. So we very much understand, but acknowledging and wanting to work on it makes such a massive difference. Yes. Yes. And I think that's I I wanna like backtrack on something. I don't want to say like when I say like be gentle with us, I don't want to say like, oh, just excuse us, like it's totally no, like call us out. Like hold us accountable. But
Yeah, like the whole reason that we're here is to like, you know, learn together.
mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, but I feel like coming in and like screaming at us is not very effective.
right. Yeah.
That's all. Not that any of you would. And interestingly enough, it's like neurotypical cis people who are doing the most yelling, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you don't even go here. Don't understand why you're yelling. Oh no. But yes, that is very, very true. Steep learning curve is definitely another thing. Okay, so really quick, Harvey, it's interesting that you bring up that like being occasionally non-speaking is a surprise. I didn't consider myself non-speaking for a very long time because I had to force myself to like it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I am also like occasionally non-speaking. Because like I'll go into times where I just don't speak, can't speak. And like I even for a little while like had a really bad stutter, just because um I just couldn't like get out what I wanted to say. Like I don't know, that's just kind of what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like I had uh I I feel like in times of like higher stress is when my like non-speaking side kind of comes out. Like it's harder for me to really get my ideas out, or I start to stutter,
Mm-hmm.
um, or just shut down completely and can't, like depending on the stress level, just can't communicate at all. And I at that point like I have to kind of like use my hands or
Mm-hmm.
just kind of walk away. Yeah, just depends on the situation.
I haven't been like completely nonverbal for a while, because it's generally times of like extreme stress,
Mm-hmm.
or distress, and I just haven't been in those specific situations lately, especially because we've been inside and not having to interact with other people, um, which helps. But
Mm-hmm.
it when you started talking about like you start having issues speaking, it's almost like, here comes another metaphor. It's almost like an eclipse. Um, it's like you can see some light. I can kind of get things out, but it's not really there. Like there's different levels, if that makes sense. Like the difference between like a full eclipse and like a partial eclipse. Like sometimes I'm like partially nonverbal, where like I can speak, but it's extremely difficult, and I'd rather not.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes there's a full eclipse when I cannot say anything. um,
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good metaphor.
Thank you. I love metaphors. I think they're fun, unless they don't make sense. Then I get upset. But or they're just like, I don't know. If I don't see a practical reason. Oh, what is the one about like straws or something? Oh, it's straws, or oh my gosh. Straws or spoon? I don't know. There was one I saw today and I was like, that's one of those ones that annoys me. And sorry if you hear popping. I'm playing with my STEM toy. Um it's like everlasting bubble wrap, and it makes me very happy.
It's cool.
um But yeah, with selective mutism, who report that higher stress situations is when they lose their ability to speak. Yes, and I think I would qualify occasionally under that. But like I said, I haven't experienced it in so long that I'm like, wait, was I just like faking it? Like, you know how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, being inside and like not really going anywhere has definitely helped me not have to be in those stress situations. So I do get to the point where I'm like, did that really happen? Like, did I really like did I really like shut down for so long or like do that, or am I just faking it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's like so much time has gone by and like I feel fine because I'm not in this high stress situation anymore. Um, that I'm like, huh, maybe that was just, not even real. But of course it was. I'm just in a better situation.
Mm-hmm.
To where I am able to like speak and feel a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. I know a lot of my triggers are social situations, so I
Yeah.
haven't had as many of those in-person social situations.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been a whole lot easier. And honestly, like I know there's a lot of people who have been diagnosed, um, kind of like due to the pandemic, and there's been a lot of backlash about it. Like there's been a lot of accepting people that are like, yeah, self-diagnosis is valid and are very like welcoming, but I don't. How am I trying to say this? I I don't know. I just think it made a lot of people realize how autopilot they were all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and forced them to be with themselves. Because you have to think about it. Most people, I guess, like, well, I don't want to say most people. How society tries to push you is you go to school, you go to grade school, you go to college, and this is in the U.S. You get a job, you work, and work and work, have a family,
Mm-hmm.
retire. That's and then like when you retire, that's when you can finally maybe like sit down and think about who you actually are.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, so I think a lot of people just had to like sit down and realize who they were, maybe at different points, because it's interesting, like how like some people get older and they like don't want to talk to anyone anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been me.
I feel like that's already me.
Right. I feel like I'm already there.
Yeah. I mentioned to my grandmother one time, I was like, oh, I feel like I just want to like become a hermit and not talk to anyone anymore. And she's like, well, you're pretty damn close already. And I was like, I just looked at her, I was like, what? And I just kind of had to like look at myself and like how many people that I like actually talk to, and I was like, oh man, she's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like just a huge hermit already.
But I'm like not mad about it.
Yeah, right.
Other people are mad about it, but me personally, nah, I'm good.
Yeah, like honestly, before the pandemic, like I hung out with maybe like 5 people, and now I still kind of hang out with just like maybe like 4 or 5 people, and it's nice. Like for the pandemic, it definitely like you said earlier, it made people just kind of sit with themselves. It definitely gave me the opportunity to kind of like sit with myself and find out who I am. And that was kind of rough, like finding out like how much I was on autopilot for so long. Yeah, but it is really nice kind of like being able to hang out with people again.
It is the right people.
Yeah.
Strong identify on being hermits and happy about it. I think okay, so I think I words. I'm used to saying nonverbal, but I think that sometimes I'm non-speaking. That I identify with heavily. And a lot more than like non-verbal or non-vocal. Like sometimes I am non-speaking. That I definitely get honestly fairly regularly. Where unable to speak aloud, but can still type and understand words and make vocal sounds like that's me in the mornings actually. I can't really talk in the morning.
Yeah, mornings are hard for me to talk. It's there's been times where like I'll be trying to describe what I need to be done, because you know, mornings like over here I have to like make school lunches sometimes and breakfasts and stuff, and I'll be like trying to describe what I need to be done, and I'm just like, oh never mind, I'll just do it, like because I can't speak, like I can't talk about what I need. It's very frustrating.
You can't like get it out like the way you want it to.
Yeah.
And that's like why I want to talk about like relationships and stuff too, because the learning that has to happen, even if you like happen to be with another partner that's neurotypical, you're still 2 different people, and there's a lot of learning and understanding and patience that has to happen in relationships. Just another reason why I want to make it like an adult thing, because you know, kids don't have to worry about getting up and making school lunches. Well, I mean, maybe they do, but you know, it's not talked about from the adult standpoint enough. And unfortunately, we hear more about hashtag autism moms that are not autistic. I would love to have a mom episode. That'd be great.
Yeah.
An autistic mom episode.
Like autistic mom and like instead of autism mom.
Yes, that's it. There it is.
Yeah.
Autistic mom instead of autism mom. Yes. That 100%. Like, oh my gosh. I do not yet have children. It is on my list. Children are on my to-do list. That doesn't sound great, but like I will one day have a child. But you know, it's something that I would like in my future. So I think hearing from autistic individuals who are already moms or parents in general would be extremely helpful, because I know that I'm gonna get into already I stress about like, how am I gonna wake up at 3 a.m. like, and then have like a normal schedule? How? No. I can't. My sleep must not be interrupted, or the next day will be terrible. Like, I can't work on 5 hours of sleep. That doesn't work for me. So
it's definitely an adjustment, and I definitely would love to find like more autistic moms, and kind of figure out how they do things and handle things as well. Um, I feel like I do all right. But it's definitely good to just hear from other people and see kind of how they go about their daily lives, especially as like mothers who are autistic.
Mm-hmm.
And also just I'd love to hear about like how they parent their children who are more likely to be autistic as well, and just kind of how their own experiences as an autistic person helps parent their autistic child, and help them understand themselves better.
I can already tell that episode is probably gonna make me cry. But I'm here for it. Also, hello Medusa Skirt and hello Mistress Amma.
Hello.
Yeah, that's a mood. Autistic moms are the greatest, just amazing. Just amazing. I just think it's like, I think being a parent in general is like, wow. Like having neurodivergencies and being a parent, gosh, I cry sometimes because I'm like, how am I keeping my dog alive? I mean, she's doing just fine. She's so spoiled. she is too taken care of, quite frankly.
Nice.
But like, it's a person, like that's a little person that's gonna grow up and do things in the world.
Yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking a lot of the time, and takes a lot of work and growth and patience, and support as well. Yeah, just like having a support system, and I don't know, like like they say, like it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
That's very important to me. That's kind of how I grew up, like in a village, of people who like did their best to support me. There's there's more backstory to that, but we won't get there.
That's fair.
But moving forward, like it's also important that I have my little village to help with my children. So I know a lot of people don't have that, but it's definitely an important thing to have.
Yes. And I feel like talking about it will help people maybe start to find that village.
Yes,
sooner.
like it's never too late to start your village.
Oh, it's never too late to start your village. Gosh, I love that. Oh, so Mistress Alma made a very interesting comment. They said, I have to play Disney songs so that I sing to my 3-month-old, or else he wouldn't hear me speak very often. And in parentheses, I have to remind myself to speak. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's great that you like use the Disney songs to sing to them.
I could definitely see me like, I don't have to talk to the child, so I probably just wouldn't. But I know that it's extremely important for like kids growing up to hear people speaking.
Yeah.
I have heard, so
it's really good
idea.
for like development in like early childhood and infancy. It's just like the more you hear speaking, and like the less baby talk, is like the better their vocabulary will be and the better their speaking skills will be.
Oh wow.
Yeah, at least that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm no expert, but yeah.
No, I'm no expert either, but it makes sense. It does make sense because kids are copycats. That's how they learn.
Yeah,
it makes sense. So I'm just excited to have Mistress Alma's child just running around communicating via Disney songs. That would actually kind of be amazing, because what if they're also neurodivergent and they're not feeling very talky, but they have a song to talk about how they feel. I love that, actually.
Yeah. My child likes to communicate in SpongeBob references.
Yes.
And she also will like pick a character that kind of describes how she's feeling to like tell me like who she is that day, and or like how she feels is uh like Hatra from She-Ra or something. Like
Yes.
she'll just like use characters and like one-liners from SpongeBob to just like communicate sometimes.
That is absolutely amazing. And I'm smiling so big because that is how I was growing up. It was very much like, I'm this person today, and this communicates how I feel better than actual words do. So that's who we're gonna be. And even to
Yeah.
this day, I describe myself in movie quotes and show quotes and snippets of musicals.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easier. Sometimes other people just have the words, and you're like, I don't have to make up my own.
It is, exactly. It's like there's so much like literature out there that surely there's something that would describe my experience.
Yes, it's already there. I don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
Gentle Beast said they really speak at home too. It's a big effort for them. So they developed a tonal language where they make wordless musical sounds, and the tune is what communicates the meaning. That is how I am in the morning. I actually make like little musical sounds. I feel so weird talking about it because I don't really express this to anyone. But that's how I communicate, and based on how that sounds is that my partner is like kind of figuring out how I'm feeling or like kind of what I need. So
Yeah.
definitely relate to that. Yes, doesn't that sound wonderful, Medusa? And Gentle Beast also said it's important for babies and kids to experience language, but it doesn't have to be spoken language. Sign language, tonal language, and any other complex language works just as well. Which I guess makes sense because that's probably activating like the exact same thing.
Yeah, that does make sense. Just like, well, because like even like before kids can talk, they can do sign language as early as like a few months.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good way to give children like a way to communicate so that they can ask for things, because that's like just one of the earliest things that you do as a young human is just ask for things and tell, try and communicate your needs,
Try and get
in any
help.
way you can, and giving kids a way to communicate their needs is really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I've always wanted to learn sign language. Just because
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I learned some like really simple like baby sign language whenever my daughter was younger, and taught her some, like, so she was always able to like ask for more, and oh gosh, I can't remember a lot of the other ones, but that was one of the big ones was more.
More. I actually know more.
Yeah.
um
But yeah, it's really interesting, and I feel like I've tried to learn sign language like fully a few times, but it's very difficult for me.
Learning languages, if somebody I used to say if somebody paid me to learn languages, I would be so happy. Like, pay me to sit around all day and just learn languages.
That would be
I
amazing.
love languages so much, but because there's so much other stuff I have to do in life, I've never fully learned another language. It is one of my goals. And I always say if I had a superpower, it would be to be omnilingual, because I feel like it's so unfair that there's some people who are going to have some amazing ideas that I can't understand in the way that they are taught to communicate. Because like even translating, it's not perfect.
Yeah. I totally get that. And honestly, I've thought a lot about how like there are so many different languages, and they're honestly all so beautiful, and I would love to be able to like speak and understand all of them. And it's just not fair that I can't do that.
Agreed.
Like, I don't have the time or capacity to like learn a ton of different languages. I took like 4 or 5 different languages in high school, just kind of like hopping between each of them because I just couldn't decide which one I wanted to actually learn.
Yes, it's like all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, um, Mistress Amma, my sister and I are really big about puns as well. And we actually have just some weird phrases from childhood that we'll often say to each other, um, that nobody else gets. I feel that, so I definitely feel that. That's so funny. Um, oh gosh, I just made another science and autistic connection because I was very prone to communicating through references as a child and still do to this day, Medusa skirt. I actually saw a post that was kind of about this today. How it was about retweeting and how they loved Twitter because they didn't always have the right words to say about a situation, but somebody else did. So
Yes,
they just kind of say like,
I
yeah,
love
this,
that
I
about
agree with
Twitter.
this.
Yeah. Well, and you can like go on your page and just like scroll through and you can see your retweets like as if they were regular tweets. So it's like, hey, yeah, I'm using like this person's words as my own because I agree with them and they explained it perfectly. Yeah, Twitter's fantastic for that. That's why like most of my page is retweets because I'm like, oh, I don't have anything to say. Like I'm literally speechless about most of the things that are on Twitter, but
Yeah.
here's someone who said something beautifully about it.
I'm like, yes, that exactly. I have nothing else to say except retweet.
Yeah, exactly.
just gonna retweet that real quick.
Yeah.
I definitely, between like hyping up my friends and getting excited about their projects and just other people's comments on things, I've had to work hard to make my own tweets. I won't lie. It is a bit of a struggle unless it's like I'm gonna be live or I'm doing this project. To like actually just kind of put my thoughts out there is not easy for me.
Yeah, I feel like I go through times where like I'll put like any and every thought I have on Twitter, and then there are times where I'm like, I have not a single word to say, and it definitely fluctuates. Yeah.
It varies. It does vary. Because sometimes I get too verbose, personally.
You can get into like, I don't know, like Twitter has this like, it's like a suction, like it just can kind of like suck you into just like basically almost like talking to the people that follow you, and you just like at some point you can just kind of like put, oh, like this is just a random thought I had, and but then other times you kind of like get out of that Twitter hole and you're just like, oh, this weird little website, like I don't have words for you today.
I don't have words for you today. Retweet. It's like Starfish596 said it best. Ooh, okay, so Medusa Skirt, I have to write this down, says they found a YouTube channel called Native Lang, spelled Nativlang, and it scratches my ooh, these ways of communicating is cool. Let me write that down. That sounds like something I need to get my hands on immediately. I don't want to forget that. Yeah, I just think languages are the coolest. Yes. That's what I do so often with Twitter and Facebook. When I had a Facebook, a mood, I may not know what to say or how to say it, but someone else knows how to convey pretty close to what I'm thinking. Yeah, exactly. I don't have Facebook either. I took mine down. I was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I keep deleting the app off my phone and then like re-downloading it. Yes. But I also had to use Facebook to like get in touch with my child's teacher over the last year. Like we had like a Facebook group for the classroom, and I was like, this is annoying, but there's nothing I can change about it.
Dang it. Ugh. See, that's what I had for a while, is that I had some friends who would mostly communicate through Facebook, like Messenger. So I needed a Facebook account to keep talking with them in Messenger, but I didn't really use my Facebook. So I had the Messenger app on there for a while, and I went through like deleting it and having it for a while, and then I just was like, you know what? You can text me.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So we are actually, y'all, coming to the end of the podcast for today. This one isn't like a very long one because, like I said, it's kind of like our episode 0. We're figuring things out. Future ones could potentially and probably will definitely be longer. I imagine some like part 1, part 2s in the future, especially with all the different like parts of things that we could talk about, if that makes sense. But anything that you kind of want to close out saying, Taylor? Any last thoughts, last words?
No, I'm just really excited to get started on everything that we talked about today. I think we like touched on a lot of really good points and got some good input from people. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yes, definitely. And thank you so much for coming on here with me and honestly like keeping me kind of on track, because I who knows where I would be right now. I would have went on some tangent about sea turtles at this point. Who knows?
Oh. Well, I like sea turtles too.
I mean, sea turtles are amazing, and I actually grew up in a place where we could very often like see them like when they were going to the beach and everything. Anyway.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like when they hatched. Yeah, it was amazing. But I just kind of want to say just thank you again to everyone for popping in for this first little episode. It means so much that this is like, I don't know if helpful is the right word. Interesting, helpful, etc. However it appeals to you, whoever you need to use this space. I'm glad that it is already starting to do that and giving you like a place to talk about things. So that makes me very happy. That was my goal with this. And yeah, kind of like Taylor said, I'm also just very excited to grow from here. So thank you again for being here, y'all. Thank you, Ama and Gentle Beast and Pizza and Sprinkle. And
Yes, thank you all.
I saw some other friends in here. I'm gonna have to get one of those scrolling things so we can like the credits, so we can like thank everyone at the end of these. But
Ooh, nice. I like that idea.
Wouldn't that be cool? But I think it's Streamlabs that had it, so I'm gonna have to find another one. Unless somebody is just really cool and technology savvy and wants to make one, I'll pay you. Like, I'm not cool like that. I don't know tech like that. But yeah, so the next episode is going to be either the second to last or the last Wednesday of June over on Club Spectrum's channel. I say the second to last or last because A, my schedule's all over the place, and B, it gives people flexibility that it's like, hey, my spoons are like 0, we're gonna do it next week, you know, something like that. I just want this to be as cozy for the people who are part of it as well. Wait, that wasn't a full sentence, but I think my point did my point happen?
Yeah, I got you.
Thank you. Oh, Stream Elements has one. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna have to look into that. But yeah, thanks again. Oh, and you'll probably be seeing a lot more of like images because these are just comfortable. Yeah, plus, it's a podcast. You don't have to see our faces.
Yeah.
But we'll probably occasionally, especially when we have guests, maybe do like actual like camera panels and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll like play it by ear and just see where we're at each month and how we're feeling.
Yeah, so keep an eye out. Twitter is probably going to be your best bet for keeping up with information, updating y'all on stuff so you know when it's going to be. This episode will be available on Spotify and YouTube in 2 weeks. Hopefully. I feel like I can edit it down in 2 weeks. I'm going to have more confidence in myself. I can do it. Okay, so Mistress Ama, there is a Discord, but it is not community ready quite yet. And after the discussion today, I think I want to go ahead and start on that. I didn't know if I wanted to wait, because it's more for running the podcast right now. So there's not like a community like chatting area really, but I'd love to make one. So I'm going to make it a goal to hopefully by the next episode have a Discord for us all to start hanging out in.
Yeah, that would be great.
I think that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll get a Discord started, because talking to all of y'all outside of this is ideal. I would love that, because y'all are great. All right, so follow us. We're Club Spectrum Pod on all the things. We're on Spotify, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And yeah, that's it. We don't have any fun branding, cute little closeouts or anything yet. So I guess we'll just say bye. Take care of yourselves.
Yeah, bye everyone. Thank you for stopping by.
See you around.
Maybe we'll work on the fun branding stuff.
Yeah, fun branding stuff. Placeholder is right here.
Right. Insert that here.
Insert cool branding things here. Oh, Legend of Lala. It's okay. It's okay. There's always the VOD, and we'll have the episode come out soon. But you have a good night. It's so good to see you. Make sure you're following us over on the official Twitch channel as well, and stick around, because we're gonna raid some friends. I'll see you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.